G'day guys and girls, it's Nathan Birch here from B.Invested.com.au, and today I'm here to draw on the whiteboard again, and I'm going to be talking about a commonly asked question is how soon does it take to get money coming in from your property investing? It's a very open-ended question, it's very broad range, and there's lots of factors to be involved with it. As I'm thinking of doing this video, I was thinking of what I'm going to write, what I'm going to talk about, and how I'm going to do it. I'm going to divide this board into two. So on the first side of the board, I'm going to draw different options you've got. So the first thing is that, you know, what different ways of investing can we invest in? So we can flip a property, we can wrap a property, we can subdivide, we can put an option on a property, we can reno a property. These are just a few things that come to my head just then. Or we could stuff this. I'm not even going to write this here. I'm going to put this on this side over here. Or we can buy and hold. Okay, first of all, we can go to this side and we can look at how we can make some instant money. We can buy a property for, I don't know, flip a property. Flipping a property is buying it and reselling it, making a profit. So let's say, for instance, you buy a property for 200k and you sell it for 250k. Buying a property for 200k, selling it for 250k. What are the risks involved in doing that? You've got to find the property, you've got to locate it, you've got to purchase the property, you've got to find someone silly enough to pay you more money for it. You've got to then take out of it agent's fees. So turning your 250, you've got 50k profit on it. You've got to pay, you know, let's say 5k agent fee, 5k in stamp duty, 5k in buying and selling costs. There's 15k off, you've got 35k left over, you've got to pay the tax man some money. Let's say you end up with 20k in your hand. Yeah? You can buy and sell or flip a property. I don't like that because, you know, it's not enough in it. Why do you want to go and through all the heartache of making a deal happen, carry all the risk to make that your scenario of earning 20 grand or whatever the case may be. It could be bigger, it could be smaller, it could be whatever the case may be, but it's just an example. You could wrap a property. I'm not talking like, I'm not talking like wrap. You're talking about wrapping where, you know, it's a strategy that people have talked about out there in the public and, you know, written books about, DVDs, all that sort of stuff. I'm not a fan of wrap because basically what it is, you buy a property for 200k, you resell it for 220k to someone that's, you know, harder to get finance for. You're paying, I'm just going to draw it down here, you buy it for 200, 220, sell it, you're paying 5% interest rate on it, you charge the next person, you know, 7% interest rate. You're making a 2% interest on the fact of that. What is the risk of that? You own the property, you've got your capital tied in it, you're going to make maximum of 20k profit with all the buying, selling, or whatever the case may be. You're making a locked in number. And as a property investor, I know the gains are in the future. If I look back and see what my parents bought as their first house, they bought one house. It was a red brick house. It was out in the suburbs in Sydney. They bought it for $13,000 back in like 1970s or something, before I was a twinkle in my father's eye and lured my mother into the bedroom, I think. But the fact is that, you know, those properties today are worth about $600,000, $700,000. If they had have flipped it and made $15,000 on it as a sale price, they would have thought they were kings. If they sold it for double the amount, for 50 grand, they would have thought they were great. But the reality of it is that debt makes inflation irrelevant. So the fact is that you're just locking in a little profit today, whatever the profit, it could be 200 grand profit, whatever it is, you're just locking it in today, you're carrying the property still, you're carrying the debt, you're carrying the burden. Seriously guys, if you want to earn 2% as a friggin' income, why don't you just go and become a mortgage broker? Why would you go and put your risk in having to go buy a property, put your money down on a property, make a deal happen, go and sell it, not make anything out of it? Personally, it doesn't sit well with me. So I want to own the properties, I want to control the properties, and I want them to grow, and I want to look at them when they're, you know, when people are out in Mount Druitt going, oh, I remember when I could buy a property under $1 million out here, you know, whatever the case may be, and I don't want it locked in knowing that I've sold it to someone else 20 years ago for much cheaper. Subdivided property. So you can, I forgot another property. There's another one here, granny flats. They're stupid, but yeah, that's why I left them off. But subdivide. So you can buy a property, subdivide it, and sell them off. You could subdivide them, keep them, but what's the point of just subdividing and keeping them? So you subdivide it. So let's say, for instance, you buy a property for 200k, you split it into two, and you sell it for 400k. I'm being really conservative with these guys. Like, they're gonna, make heaps of money out of this. But let's use that as an example. You've got all the costs associated with council, fucking around, all that sort of stuff. You're gonna buy the property, go through all the heartache of it, sell it, and make yourself maybe 150k. That's cool. How long does that take you to do? Does it take you a month, 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, whatever the case may be? The fact is whatever time it takes, when you sell that property off, you're gonna buy it, sell it to extract your capital out, and you sit there and go, I've got no properties now because I just sold the property I invested in. Is it good for me? No. I do that just to stuff around, but that's because I've got a foundation portfolio of buy and hold properties. Options on a property. What an option is the fact that you're buying a property. People do seminars on them and all that sort of stuff. I've never done an option, to be honest. Is it something that's good or bad? People can mess around and trade it, but really, it's like being a day trader. You're putting down an option on a property. You're saying, okay, I'll agree to buy this property for 200k, and then you're going to go back and find a buyer that buy it for 250. You put down 10 grand, 5 grand, whatever the case may be. You find the new sucker to buy it, and then you make 50k in the middle. Is it a strategy? Strategy. Do people make money out of it? I'm sure they do. Is it a strategy that I want to do? No, because I'm not about making a quick buck. We've talked about quick bucks in everything I talk about. We're not out here to make a quick dollar. That there, option, not an option for me. I don't really like it. You can buy a property and do a cosmetic renovation to it. You can either keep it or sell it. If you're keeping it, then it falls into my buy and hold strategy that I use. If you're going to sell it, then you can make some money on it. But once again, just like this one here, where you flipped it without doing anything, you're gonna have to do your reno, you have to do a tradies, your budget could blow out, all the risks that are associated with it. You can buy it, sell it, make some money, whatever the money is. Let's say you make 50k, good on you, happy days. You just earn, an average wage for the year. Whilst you earn your normal wage at your job, you're sitting back and you're going, okay, I've got no properties again because you sold your property off. Is it good? No. I started writing here granny flat, and that's because I thought of it while I was talking. Lots of people nowadays are spruiking granny flats in their strategies. I can build a granny flat for this price. The reality of it is that they're trying to make money out of the fact of selling you the service of the granny flat. I think it's an overheated market. I think that I'd be better off buying 2 individual properties than buying something they're paying a premium for to add the granny flat. And all the crap that's associated with it. So I don't do granny flats. Moving over to buy and hold. I buy properties, I hold them, and I keep them. That's my strategy. I occasionally sell properties out of my whole portfolio. I've trimmed the fat a little bit over the years. Probably sold less than a dozen properties in a 3-digit number property portfolio. I don't know exactly how many I own today, but it's greater than 150. If we look at a buy and hold property, these ones here, you can see that you can make the quick bucks, you can make all these sort of numbers. That's good on you. Buying a buy and hold property, we're buying it for a delayed gratification. We're trying to build a passive income stream, because the reality of it is that building a passive income stream gives you options, and I want as many options as I have. Do you want 50 grand for this year for buying and selling a property and having no properties? Or do you want to build a passive income stream and a net worth position? So if we're buying properties that are worth 200k, because it's the topic of conversation here that we're talking about on this whiteboard, if the purchase price is 200,000 and then it's renting for $300 a week, it's pretty boring. It's going to be neutral cash flow. It's going to be sitting there just being a extra bit of mail in your letterbox and a couple of phone calls that you have to make. The reality of it is that you want to buy it below market value. So you want to be buying a property that's worth 250 So then you got, 50 grand net worth position there by buying it cheap, buying it with minimal risk, knowing that you've got the ability to add some value and get it to a higher number. You're going to buy it where it's got a neutral cash flow, where it's not going to eat into your lifestyle. So although it's not making you, your quick bucks today and all that sort of stuff, you want to be making sure it's looking after itself. Because if you don't have a job, or I always used to think when I was building my portfolio, I saw the GFC and all that sort of stuff. If I lost my job and I had to work at Macca's tomorrow, would my portfolio be, looking after itself? And I wanted to make sure it was, because it's just being risk averse. So if you've got this portfolio, it's not doing anything for you today. However, the view is that if you have this times 10, this times 5, or whatever the amount is on the end there, you can then create it around your lifestyle. So buying the property, making sure there's some equity in it, being able to use that equity to buy another one, that's a strategy to be able to get you to where you want to be. Building that portfolio when you've got, you can see why I wasn't going to be an architect. Oh, what do we got here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. We've got 10 little boxes here which are meant to be houses. Let's say, for instance, this is your foundation portfolio. We leave that in the microwave. We come back in 3 years time, 4 years time, 5 years time, 6 years time, and look and see what's happening in the microwave. The reality of it is that these 200 grand properties will not be worth 200 grand then, they'll be worth more. Hopefully, if you've bought well, you've bought in the right location, you've bought in an area with good growth potential and capital growth in the past, and a strong cash flow. So if these properties are worth 300 grand, for example, in 5 years, and they're renting for $400 a week, 350, whatever the case may be, if that was a neutral cash flow then, this is now positive cash flow by whatever that number is. So if, let's say for example, I don't know, you've got 10 properties, you fast forward 5 years, you've got 10 properties that are bringing in $50 a week. Let's say it's renting for $350 in 5 years. I'm being ultra conservative you guys. They'll give you $500 a week passive income, or 25k per annum. There is always variables and things that can go wrong. Just as much as that could be $300 a week, it could also be $400 a week. Interest rates could be higher, they could be lower. Whatever the case is, there's always going to be variables. So please just take this as a general advice, and not as this is exactly how it's going to happen. If I look at my own personal circumstances, this is very real, very, very real for not just myself, but for people that are very close to me, and that of the clients that we help out at B.Invested. So if we've got 10 properties that have gone up 100k, that's $1 million in net worth. But you might be saying, oh, but you haven't sold it, so you haven't realised it, whatever. Well, then I can bring the ego in and say, I'll sell them just to make someone happy, or someone could, whatever you want to say. The fact is that you've got the net worth position in your portfolio. If you were to sell them, well, look, let's say you get $1 million, and let's say you get 800,000 in your hand. We've got $800,000 in your hand, and you don't get your 25 grand a year passive income. Let's divide that by the 5 years that you've held them. That's 8 divided by 5 is about 160k a pop. So I was going to turn this into a 6 and then into a 0. So if you've earned 160 grand a year out of that, is that better than that? You've got more options, because you can keep the properties, you can keep your passive income. This one here, remembering, if you were to flip the property or whatever, if you were to get an outcome that's going to give you a $25,000 cash profit, or whatever the case may be, build a property portfolio, foundation portfolio. You have the equity going up on the properties, you have the cash flow coming in from the properties, you're earning that as a passive income. This shit's just going to keep going up forever. You've got a good, strong asset position, a net worth position. What are you going to do? Buy this property, flip it, get yourself 50 grand, save yourself a year of work, buy a new doodad, buy a new car, whatever the case may be. It's all about being sustainable, being long-term, being a future growth, looking at everything that's in line. And I think it's really important to take an outsider step, look at your position, look at exactly what you're doing today, and thinking, am I going to achieve the right result for myself, or am I just treading water and being another mouse inside the little hamster cage? So with it, I'll leave that with you for the thought of the day. Hopefully you've thought about different options. These are still good options. You can still make money. At the end of the day, if you're making money, that's the main thing that you're trying to set out. But for me, for what I believe in, I believe that having a good solid base is very important, and working towards getting that. So it doesn't matter where you're starting from, where you're coming from, where you're trying to go. I think that outweighs that. So thanks a lot for watching. Have fun, get back to work, get back to your kids, get back to your family, whatever you're doing, get back to it, and we'll catch up soon. Bye for now.